I would like to address my first question to Mr. Rothenthal. In your written testimony, you spoke about the connection between your industry and the construction trade. Obviously, because of the housing crisis, construction is one sector of the economy that is particularly struggling. Can you discuss in greater detail how do you think that tax benefits that help restaurants will stimulate growth in your industry and in others?
That's a very, very good point. I'm sorry. Give you an example. Right now, we have one of our restaurants is overdue for remodeling and refurbishing. We have plans on the drawing board to redo our first floor, redo the exterior, redo the roof and the ceiling line at a cost of approximately $175,000. We are looking as to whether or not we can do this year. And part of the problem is our bottom line at that store has dropped to about 3%. We're facing a perfect storm right now. Usually when we see economic dips like we're seeing right now, we find that demand drops and therefore our costs of doing business, supplies and food costs drop. But with the weak dollar and extremely high commodity costs, our costs of food costs and products have exceeded 5% increase over the last year, dropping our higher labor costs, dropping our bottom line to under 3%. Mm-hmm. Candidly, in an environment where we're only at a 3% profit line, we don't know if we can take the risk to make that investment if we knew that we had the ability to look at getting accelerated depreciation, which would mean that approximately double our deduction next year, we would then be more likely to make that. As far as the building trades are concerned, yes, all the construction companies are eager to do. 3 years ago, we couldn't find a company to remodel, and today we have 20 biting at the bit to do the job because they're hurting.
Thank you. And then Mr. Shabbat.
Madam Chair, I'm going to reserve my questions as well. Before I yield to my colleagues here, I just want to thank the panel, and I think their testimony was really excellent, and I certainly agree that we need, rather than more special incentives, complicating the tax code, to simplify it is the best thing that we could do and make the tax cuts that we already passed permanent so that businesses know what they're going to be dealing with down the future, can plan for that now, and I think that's the best thing we could do for the economy and hiring more people. But I'll yield my time to the gentleman from Tennessee, Mr. Davis.
Thank you so much. I appreciate each of you being here today. Thank you for what you do in our economy. You know, as I look around Northeast Tennessee, where I represent, I've been a small business owner myself before coming to Congress about 20 years, so I know what it is to make a payroll and have to pay taxes and hire accountants to make sure that I do everything the way I'm supposed to. And I appreciate the opportunity, Madam Chairman, to have this hearing on taxes, because I honestly believe that you can't tax and regulate yourself into prosperity. And I think we're seeing that now, especially with energy costs that are going up, and as energy cost goes up, commodity cost goes up, and you're starting to see that. I signed on to a piece of legislation that several members of the House have signed on to, called an economic growth package. I voted for the economic stimulus package. I think we actually need a growth package, and the best economic growth package is a good-paying job. It's not higher taxes and more regulations. That legislation does basically three things, and I'd like for you to talk to me about how you see this working in the economy. It would lower the top corporate rate from 35% to 25%. That would bring us in line with the European Union nations. That would bring jobs back to America that have actually left America, in my mind. Second thing it would do is allow for immediate indexing for new equipment and buildings. And finally, the third thing it would do is decrease the top corporate capital gains rates to 15%, bringing it in line with individual capital gains rates, putting more money back into small businesses so they can go out and create those jobs. The ultimate best economic stimulus package. If each of you or some of you could talk about an economic growth package with those fundamental principles and what it would do to our economy, I would appreciate hearing your thoughts. Thank you. No.
Thank you. I think that any package that reduces taxes will improve the economy. You certainly put more money into the pockets of small business owners. I think it's a fruitful debate and discussion to take into account whether those provisions will simplify the code or make them more complex. I appreciate the fact that the title of this hearing is modernizing the code, not simplifying it. And in an economic downturn, I suppose that modernizing is more important than simplifying. So I would say in general, although your stimulus package will undoubtedly make the code more complex, it could very well have the effect of stimulating the economy by putting more money in the pockets of small business owners.
Let me address the corporate rate reduction. If you look back prior to 1986, the United States had one of the highest corporate tax rates in the world. The 1986 Tax Reform Act reduced the corporate rate from 46% to 34%, and at that time did give the U.S. an advantage over most of our trading partners. However, what happened since 1986 and the 20-plus years is that all of our trading partners reduced their rates. And so as you mentioned today, the average combined federal and local corporate tax rate in the European Union is less than 25%. It's about 24.5%. So the U.S. corporate rate, by not changing on its own, became out of line with our trading partners and in many cases creates a competitive disadvantage for U.S. companies. And even at a 25% federal rate, companies would still be liable for state and local taxes, which on average would add close to 4 or 5 percentage points on top of that 25. So many companies might say that that's not even going far enough.
I think it was said here before. That most of us in small business are taking the money from our quote-unquote profits and putting them back into our businesses. What this does, to lower the tax rate, it enables us to invest and expand at a greater rate when we're burdened with higher taxes. Most people don't realize that our industry, the restaurant industry today, is a highly professional industry, that we are now providing the stereotype of minimum wage jobs. We're providing major jobs for folks who have growth opportunities in executive positions, many of whom are in 6 figures or more running restaurants. And in order to expand that, getting a great job, we need to expand our business. And when taxes are high and we're unable to use that money to plow back in our business, then we obviously aren't going to provide those jobs.
This is a wonderful idea. We need you to win. We need more jobs to grow. We need to invest more back into the company. We need all of our other factories to invest back in. We're not competitive. Right now, our structure is not competitive against France. It's not competitive against our major trading partners. This is crazy. We should be a low-tax environment so we could fight the French, so we can fight the Germans, so we could fight the Canadians and be more competitive. And by you leading the charge on this, we encourage you to do that because we really need the relief, and now's the time. Thank you for doing what you're doing.